What is up, y'all? It's your boy Steph, back with another reaction. This time we have a recommended horror narrator by the name of Dead Man Talking's Forest of Fear. He was recommended to me by one of my subscribers. Shout out to Bailey. I heard he had some good cryptid stories, monster stories, werewolf skinwalkers, Wendigo, or however you pronounce that. And when I looked at the videos, this is the first one that stood out to me, so I'll react to it. This is for you, Bailey. If I like what I hear and like what I see, blah, 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 I'll keep reacting to it. If not, probably not. But usually when my subscribers, the small little fan base that I do have, usually when they suggest someone or suggest something to react to, it's usually always good. They know the type of stuff that I like, so I'm pretty sure I won't be disappointed. So without further ado, let's get into it. We have 3 creepy, deep forest monster stories. Werewolves and skinwalkers. Sounds good. Let's get into it. The hell? Oh. Wow. Whoa. Really?
Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Come with me as we step into the deep, dark forest of fear, and let us pray that we see sunrise in the morning.
Let's get to it.
Tonight's show, guys, is a compilation of 3 extremely chilling and very tense, scary stories in the deep, dark forest. As ever, please do let us know what you thought down below. Please do like and share, and don't forget to hashtag Team Fear. Don't forget, if you want to support the show that little bit more, you can find yourselves over on my Patreon page and join there for as little as $1 a month or £1 a month. Also have a merchandise range now. The links for that are on screen on the little information bar at the top right hand corner of the video screen. I'll also leave all the links for those websites down below in the description box. Without further ado though, guys, let's get into tonight's first story, entitled Cursed. Let's get straight into that.
Yes, sir.
My name is Arthur Anderson. My memory isn't what it used to be, but I know I'm 98 years old and spent time in Europe during the Second Great War.
Damn.
Time has ravished my mind, but I can still remember most of the life-changing events in my life.
Ancient.
It's important that whoever reads this knows that I am not a bad man now, nor was I in my youth. I was young, stupid and full of piss and vinegar. Now, in my advanced age, I am no longer full of piss or vinegar. Instead, I grapple with decisions I made as a youth and hope that I can be spared the wrath of hell, even if I do not deserve to be saved. In my time in the army, I took many lives. It was war, and war was bloody and brutal and cost many good men their lives.
Yeah?
One life I took in particular still haunts me. I took the life of a man outside the theatre of war. I took his life, and at the time played it off as self-defense. But he and I and the Lord Almighty all know I did not need to take that life that night. At least, not the first time. I pray for forgiveness. I pray for mercy on my own soul, the same way I've prayed for his soul every day since 1944. I watched the life leave the man's eyes twice that day, in an alley in the city of Aachen on a brisk October night. I found out afterward that his name was Hugo. Nobody could tell me his last name. All I knew at the time was that he was a Nazi, and Nazis were bad.
Hugo?
It was pretty much point and shoot after that. Hugo and a few others had been found that night, and they were being detained by a few men. They'd been discovered in a building that looked like a school. They were in the science wing when they were discovered. Piles of bodies that looked as if they had been decaying for months littered the hallways and rooms. Candles and dark imagery littered the rooms, and the room where the men were found was no exception. We opened fire, and by the time the dust had settled, Hugo and 2 others were all that were left alive. And the other 2 had been burned so badly, they probably wouldn't make it through the night. It looked like the men had been involved in some type of sacrifice. Pentagrams and scribbles in blood filled the walls, and the place had the most putrid smell. Nobody was talking. We cuffed them and took them out of the building. The rest of the afternoon was quiet and uneventful. Hugo later in the evening started shaking and convulsing and looked like he had taken a cyanide capsule or something similar. We found out later, once he had died, that he had most likely been having seizures. At least that's what the medic said. The captain had told me in the past that he wasn't keen on taking prisoners that were healthy, and it wasn't his job to babysit the ones that weren't. I remember that. But the captain was gone now, lost in the firefight. We either needed to put these men out of their misery or be responsible for lugging them back and forth. The boys and I didn't want anything to do with hauling more than we had to, but since the heat of the battle was over, we couldn't bring ourselves to finish them off. Overnight, we heard a struggle. I grabbed my rifle and cover and headed over to the spot where the prisoners were being kept. The 2 burned up ones were piled on top of Jones. One other guy was trying to pull them off of him, but was struggling to do it. Finally, he and I were able to. And I'll never forget the sight. Jones was dead, and it looked like they were ripping out his guts.
Oh.
It was the most disgusting thing I'd ever seen. I pointed my rifle and told him to get off. I didn't know any German back then and really don't remember much of it today. But I'll never forget what Hugo said. Sei waren dort and und dort. Words that at the time meant nothing to me.
Right.
But in the years since, I have come to discover they meant something like they were dead and undead. That word haunts me. Untot. I asked Hugo over and over what he meant, but he didn't speak a lick of English. In disgust, the other guy, a medic, put a bullet in the heads of the 2 burned soldiers, and that just left Hugo to deal with.
Damn! The fuck?
Hugo kept blathering on in his native tongue over and over. I assumed trying to get us to take him away from them, but nobody there spoke any German. All I could think about was how much I wanted him to die. I was sick of war. I was sick of the death. I was sick of seeing the absolute worst in humanity. But even more so, I was sick of being responsible for someone I really didn't want to be alive. And besides, this guy creeped me out, especially after what I saw just happen to Jones. I pulled out my pistol and held it to Hugo's head and told him not to move. He began sobbing. I didn't understand a word, but I'm pretty sure it was something about not wanting to die. Just as I was about to pull the trigger, he turned his head and bit me right on the hand.
Oh,
it was
shit.
deep, and it hurt like the dickens. Out of pure instinct, I tightened my grip on the pistol and accidentally put a bullet in Hugo's chest, right at his heart.
Ooh.
Instantly, my own heart sank. I didn't really plan on killing him. I was just going to scare him a little. That's what I tell myself anyway. But he had to go and bite me. It was a hell of a bite too. And even though it was close to freezing that night, the wound burned so hot, I thought it was going to catch fire. The medic came over when he heard the gunshots and asked me what happened. I told him what I'd done and how much I regretted it. After what the medic saw happen with Jones, he said he didn't blame me, but I was feeling really bad already at that point. That man was my responsibility. I was supposed to watch him and help him. He was a POW for crying out loud, and I killed him because he bit me. The medic turned to Hugo's body and leaned in to see if he was still alive.
Yeah, no.
That was the last mistake that man ever made. Could it cost him his life? Whatever guilt I'd felt for killing Hugo disappeared for a moment when I saw him sit up, a piece of the medic's cheek in his mouth, dripping with blood. Hugo's face had changed. His eyes were white, his pupils gone. The light wasn't great, but I'll never forget those soulless eyes staring at me. His skin had scrunched up until I could see the gumless teeth, and I swear I could smell rotten meat instantly. And as soon as he began to stand and move closer, I shot several times with my pistol. Hugo's near lifeless body twitched in the moonlight. I put one more bullet in his head, and a shell of the man went limp.
Damn.
I turned to help the medic, and he had lost a lot of blood, but was still moving around. As soon as he and I came face to face, I saw the same soulless eyes that Hugo had. I knew I had to put the medic out of his misery. I put a bullet in his chest and it didn't stop him.
Damn.
I was out of ammunition. But before I could reload, my former brother-in-arms was on top of me, trying to bite me, the same way that Hugo had moments before. Once again, my instincts took over, and when the dust had settled, I realized that my knife had found its mark, piercing the medic's ear canal. I considered that a mercy killing, after seeing what he and Hugo had become. Hugo's death was on me. That man should not have been killed that night. Whatever he had done to sell his soul to the devil, or whatever he had become that night, is still a mystery to me. All I can be sure of is that once the medic was bitten, he was most likely perished from his wound, and whatever happened to the prisoners that night happened to the medic too. Those demons' faces haunt me every night in my dreams. I may not remember much, but I will never forget the events of that night. I did not tell anyone else of what happened that night. The only other one that knew was the medic, and he was sent to the Lord that night, which only left me, and me alone, that knew the truth of what we saw. Nobody else would have believed me. I set fire to the bodies to cover the accident, but made it look like one of the POWs had escaped and killed the medic, but had tripped over a lantern and started the fire.
Oh, wow.
It was the best thing I could think of at the time. If you are reading this, I have most likely passed away, or you've been going through my things. Not only is this letter meant to be a confession of my sin, it is also meant to be a warning for whoever finds my corpse. When you find me, I fear I will no longer be the man I was in life, but a fearsome, soulless creature looking for blood. I pray that you will find it in your heart to have mercy on me and pierce my brain with this letter opener I have sitting on my desk. In my experience, it is the only sufficient way to end the demons that take over a body. I am not able to take my own life, as it would be another hell-worthy sin, and I already have one hovering over me. That's enough for one lifetime. I pray to God that he will forgive me. Sincerely, Arthur James Anderson.
Damn, you were just putting everybody out of their misery.
What hides in the dark?
That don't sound good.
Let's get straight into that.
Hugo.
What hides in the shadows under the moon? The people go by in ignorance as a killer stalks the nights, taking one life at a time. He saw you, but did you see him? Amber eyes shining in the dark. Thick black fur as dark as midnight. A low, gut-wrenching growl wells up from his empty stomach. The cold, icy hands of night wrap around him. Sounds of people coming and going not 10 feet from where he waits for some poor, unsuspecting victim. He's a long way from protection of the thick, overgrown woods where he hunts, void of any emotion other than rage and hunger that fills every inch of him. The sound of someone humming fills his long, dark fur-covered ears. His eyes widen and his body lowers with every muscle in his athletic body tightening up. His overwhelming hunger torments him. Long, razor-sharp claws dart out from the bush, grabbing the happy man as he passes by. No one has seen what has happened to the man. The beast was fast and precise with his abduction. No cries for help were even heard from the now lifeless man. For the hungry beast has driven his long, now blood-stained canines into the man's neck, silencing him in an instant.
Yeah.
Another night goes by in the city. The beast has claimed another victim, and no one will ever know the truth of what has befallen this unlucky man. Now full and content, the beast returns to his hiding place deep in the city. The dark gives way to the light, and the beast sleeps until the moon calls him again. Don't forget, when we gaze into the darkness, something hungry may gaze back at you.
And at that point, it's time to change locations.
A tale as old as time. Skinwalker. Let's get straight into that. I live in a small town close to Transylvania. The town is mainly mountains and forest, not a very industrialized place. A little over 30,000 people call this town home. Due to the fact that it's quite secluded, urban legends, myths and scary stories are very popular. The town is filled with more elders than young people, as all of the latter move out as soon as they finish high school. The elders will tell you hundreds of stories, most of which will be meant to scare you enough to go to bed before midnight. Most stories are not true. I never believed them to be. However, mine is. Here is how I came to believe in the paranormal world. I live with my grandma. She's a very kind woman, religious, orthodox Christian, and with the kindest heart you could ever imagine. She would always let me go wherever I wanted, and even though she would always worry about me, she would never really stop me. I feel like her kind attitude towards me is because she felt responsible for raising me and wanted me to have all the freedom growing up, instead of restrictions and punishments. She believes I can make rational decisions and focus more on advice. She would always instruct me on how to be careful with everything around me. The biggest no-no was the forest. She would always advise me not to step foot in the woods alone,
Hell no.
especially at night.
Hell no.
Wild animals, crazy people, she would say.
Why would you?
I always listened. It was hard for me to avoid the woods as they were situated right in front of our house, and I could clearly see in the woods from my balcony. I never wanted to worry her, and I was scared of being attacked by wolves or bears, so I kept my distance from the forest. That was until one night. As I already mentioned, the town I live in is filled with forests and mountain paths.
Of course.
Sometimes the easiest way to get from somewhere fast would be to go through the forest. I was late one night, very late. I had spent the evening at a friend's house. She lived on the other side of the forest that my house bordered to. I had promised my grandma I'd be home by 1 a.m. However, binge-watching Game of Thrones changed the plans. It was already 2:34 a.m. when I realised how late I was.
Damn.
When I left my friend's house, I made the stupid decision to cut straight through the forest in order to get home faster than if I took the road. It was extremely quiet. No bird noises, no wind. Like all the animals was absent. I felt relieved.
Too quiet.
I wasn't going to get eaten by a pack of wolves. And I planned on spending only a few minutes in the forest as I walked from one end to the other.
Even that's too long.
Nothing went exactly as I planned it. The moment I stepped a foot inside, I felt as if someone was watching me. Trying to be brave, I went in deeper, hoping to see my house at the other end as soon as possible. As I was walking, I heard a snap sound. The type of sound that means definitely something is there. It didn't sound like an animal, more like a person walking. I didn't want to have to run into a psychopath, so I started running. As I looked back, there was nothing. After 3 minutes of sprinting for my life, I could already see the lights of my street. Thank God. I stopped to catch my breath, relieved that I had gotten home safely.
Keep running.
This is when I saw it. A figure, dark and humanoid shape, standing next to a tree, right to the right side of me. I was convinced it was a person, so I shouted, "Hello?"
Nah.
Nothing. The figure just stood there. I couldn't make out anything of it. No face, no gender, no age. I was terrified.
You
I
bullshit.
realised I was stupid. A girl in the scary movies that tries to communicate with whatever this thing is. So I started running as fast as I could, aiming for the street leading to my house.
You should never stop.
As I was running, the scariest thing in my life occurred.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
The creature mimicked me. It was repeating what I said over and over again behind me.
Oh,
With my
no.
voice. Its voice, my voice, but sounding creepier, terrified me to death. I turned around and shouted at it, "Leave me alone!"
Alone? Alone? Alone?
It repeated, mocking me. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I wasn't going to talk to it. I just wanted to get home. I burst through the door. My grandma walked out of her room, sleepy and confused, and I was crying. I told her what happened, all of it. As soon as she heard about the mimicking part, she rushed to the windows. She closed them all and instructed me to stay away from them. A skinwalker, she called it. An ancient witch that can take the form of humans and animals. Terrifying dark creature.
Uh-huh.
I thought I would get in trouble, but she looked too scared to even care. She instructed me to stay home for the next few days. Just as I was trying to understand what was happening, she started saying a prayer. I was freaking out. Why was I supposed to stay inside? What would happen to me if I went outside? Why stay away from the windows?
Are you asking questions?
She explained to me that the witch has targeted me and would wait for me to go out so she can get me. According to her knowledge, it would take me a few days to break the connection that had been made by the repetition of my words. I obeyed. I stayed home for the next few days. That's not where the scary part ends. According to my grandma, the scary part was just the beginning. Until the connection was broken, the witch would taunt me and try to get me to leave the house or open a window. whatever you do not respond. She wasn't wrong. Every night for 3 nights straight, it would taunt me, trying to lure me out. It was someone outside my window repeating what I had said.
Hello? 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 Leave me alone.
It used exactly my voice.
Dear, could you make me a tea, please?
My grandma's voice, it would mimic me. My grandma and even my friends, just to get me to leave the house. I never did. I resisted. Needless to say, it almost drove me insane. It happened a year ago and I'm fine now. I haven't heard it mimic me ever since. It doesn't target me anymore. I never step foot inside the forest and never will. However, if I stand on my balcony and I look at the forest in front of me, I swear I can see a dark figure standing there, watching me.
Oh, it is.
To everyone, I would give a warning. Some things are meant to never be discovered. Listen to your elders and let them remain undiscovered. Because when you mess around too much and something like this happens to you, it never really goes away. Yes, it happens. And if you are fortunate enough, it ends. Then you feel like you are unaffected anymore. And you are free. But you are never really free. It will haunt you forever if you are lucky. If you are not, it will kill you.
Just like that.
Wow, hope you guys enjoyed those short stories there. Have to bear with me, this week's been a bit hectic, so getting a lot of things in order and organised, doing some training and returning back to work very, very soon, so lots going on behind the scenes. Hope you enjoyed that though. As ever, please do let me know what you thought in the comments. Please do like and share, and don't forget to hashtag Team Fear. And remember, if you're going camping or hiking in a deep dark forest, do your history checks of the area, pack the necessary protective equipment, and above all, keep your eyes and ears open. And remember, be safe, not sorry.
He said the necessary hunting and camping tools and equipment. So in other words, a gun or two and your running shoes. And that's it. Those are the most important hunting and camping tools and equipment that you could ever need. Factual. What I'm not understanding is the fact, why did you go in the forest in the first place? I understand that you were late, but hell, you're already late, so you might as well just take the long way and be safer than to go through the shortcut and chance getting fucked up in that forest that you cut through. Honestly, that last story is what got me the most. But that first story, Hugo, that's such a cliche-ass name. Like, when people tell stories of... when people tell stories about, like, going to prison or going to jail or some shit, it'd be like, man, you're gonna be stuck in a cell with your cellmate, Big Hugo, or some shit. And he gonna be clapping your cheeks. That's funny as hell. But nah, Buddy in the last story, he was playing. He was bullshitting. Real talk. He was asking for it. I don't feel sorry for him. But your ass know never to go in that forest again. Bet that. One thing I want to say before I close the video out. I have a procedure in the process when I record my reactions where if I have a lot of free time or time before I go to work or whatever the case is, after I get off work, whatever time of the day it is and I have free time, I will go and I will record multiple reaction videos all back to 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 back, and then I would go and I would edit them at different times. Like right now, I'm going to release this in appreciation for my subscriber Bailey, who put me on. Love these stories, especially that last one. I'm gonna drop this as soon as I get it edited, and all that and go ahead and upload it. But I literally at all times I usually have 5 videos in the chamber. And there'll be days I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna drop this one. And other days I'll be like, you know, I'll drop these 2. Like right now I'm sitting on some E40 song reactions, some Tech 9 reactions, some other music reactions, some Ritz, the product, some Hobson, got some creepypasta reactions, up in the chamber. I got about 7 videos right now just sitting in my phone waiting to be uploaded. So more than likely I'm gonna start putting those out. Like aside with this today, I'm probably gonna put out one of those other reactions. Whichever, since this is the scary video, I'll probably put out the creepypasta I have. So creepypasta by Creepypasta Jr. But yeah, man, I record multiple videos at one time. So, it just makes it easier for me, I guess. But, yo, you guys will be getting that within the next couple of days. So, stay tuned for that. Appreciate the love that I get. The likes, the comments, the recognition. Even though it's a small amount, everybody's got to start somewhere. I will get this channel where it needs to be. Thanks, you guys. Bailey again. Appreciate the suggestion. I'm always open to suggestions, new content creators, and things like that. Y'all know I like that scary, creepy stuff. I'm always open to new content creators. So drop it in the comments. Go to my social medias. See stuff that I don't post to YouTube. Get in my DMs, my, anything, my inbox or whatever. Just let me know what's going on. I'm always open to new reactions and new material. But that is it for this video, y'all. If you like the reaction, like the video, leave a comment, share the video to your social media, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And if you really like my reaction, tap that bell icon so you will be notified every time I drop new content, which I do on a weekly basis. There will be a link in the description to Dead Man Walking's channel and a link to this original video so y'all can see it for yourselves. Dead Man Talking's channel, my bad, along with that original video. And that is all I have for y'all this time around. Your boy Steph is out.